When you're wondering about living in another generation. Now, I when I say another generation, you know what I mean? I'm talking about like way back in the day, like maybe the 50s, 60s, like being raised or being alive during that time as opposed to like, as I'm living now, you know what I mean? Now, I say that and I'm just wondering it. I'm not saying that like, man, I was born in the wrong time or in the wrong place or the wrong thing. Is like I feel like I was born at the right time. You know what I mean? I honestly feel that way, and I don't feel like I'm late or I don't feel like I'm this or that. I actually really like my generation. I'm thinking like, just wondering about how things or how I would have developed or how different I would be if I had grown up in that era or in that particular time. And there are certain things from back then that, I mean, I guess everybody has that kind of thing, but like certain things from back then that I think are like really cool. And then, obviously without all the hate and the war and the racism and all of the other political and social issues that we still face today. But I'm just saying that like there are certain things back then that we don't do now. Like now we don't, before you had to buy music. You had to go to the record store, you had to get the album or the CD or the vinyl, and then you had to have the the vinyl player. You had to have the cassette tape or the cassette player, the Walkman. You had to have the stereo. You had to have the CD player, whatever, right? You had to have all of those things, like individual items for purchase and for sale, and then you had to go to the store and you had to get these things. You know what I mean? That was part of the business and I guess the musical, or you know that was kind of the experience with like that's how you get music in your house or in your apartment or in your home, and that's how you do things. You know what I mean? Now it's all you have to do is buy a smartphone, and then you can download an app for free and then just do it right there. You know what I mean? It's like it's not as connective. You know what I'm saying? There's no. I'm not developing a friendship with with my cell phone carrier. You know what I mean? Like I'm not becoming best friends with or I'm not frequently going to the like T-Mobile store to like look around and to talk to the people. Like I'm going there because like, hey, I need a new phone. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of those are the kind of things that I think about, is that like I want all the same kind of luxuries of like today, you know what I mean? Politically and socially, I guess, but without all of the bad, you know what I mean? Obviously with all of the progress that we've made since those times, I want that progress, but I don't want. I guess I'm trying to say that like the technology that we've developed has kind of kept us from, I guess, really connecting or being as social or as we used to. You know what I mean? It used to be a time where you had to go out and you had to get all of these things just for to listen to music, and now it's not that. And when you really think about it, it has been a bit of a burden on, I guess, the economy in general, because without all of these different businesses thriving, one business gets all of the pie. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just a little bit odd, but I just also just I'm fascinated by the aesthetic of it. I guess everybody who says that, everybody who talks about it like that, they enjoy the different aesthetics of the time. I don't know. I think we're in a place right now where things are a little bit like, what's like the style now? You know what I'm saying? Like they used to have like a different style for each time, you know what I'm saying? There used to be the The 50s had their own style, then the 60s and 70s and 80s and even the 90s, you know what I mean? Now we're in this place where I feel like obviously everybody's experimenting, everybody's like coming up with different things and they're very creative with it, but it's to a point where it's like it's no longer like a generational style as opposed to like everybody just wants to look good. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? It's we've progressed like to the top of the fashion pole, I guess. I don't know, top of the fashion mountain, you know what I mean? In the sense that there's no who's coming up with anything like new. I guess I shouldn't say that. But I'm saying like in the 80s, like you can be like, oh, this was an 80s look. You know what I mean? And then you could be like, oh, this is a 70s look. What's the look of the 2020s? You know what I mean? There is no look of the 2020s. Everybody has like figured out how to style to their own senses or their own fashion. There's no set style anymore. And I kind of would have liked the idea of like maybe we developed to like a new, I don't know, a new fashion style, a new kind of brand of clothing or a t-shirt that like does really well. You know what I mean? But I guess that's what happens when everybody has access to like different clothes and everybody starts thinking differently. I don't know. You know how like people would like think of the future, you know what I mean? Like back in the past, and then they would just see us all wearing like silver or metal and, you know, like that would be a look. You know what I'm saying? But it's not that. It's completely different. But moving on, I don't know. I think that you start to see like the little changes that are like ruining, well, ruining is I guess the wrong word, but it's just an example of like modernizing or changing things and not actually having things like be unique or stylized or different, like how McDonald's used to have like those little play, like they used to have like these little creative and inventive and stylized McDonald's restaurants. Like they used to have, you know, it used to be kind of colorful and playful, and then they updated the designs, and now it's more modern and I don't know, sleek. It's a lot more boxy and plain. You know what I'm saying? It's not as fun as I guess I would remember it. But then again, you know, you have to start looking at things as like, well, that's the way things are, like that. You can't hate on the design because it just looks modern. It just looks clean. It looks simple. It looks whatever, you know what I mean? I don't know. And that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, is wondering about, man, what if they, you know, cuz back then they were really about like creativity and standing out and doing a different thing. Now it's kind of been diluted down to whatever fits or whatever looks cool, I guess, or whatever looks simple, right? Like I remember they used to have like this hyper 3D graphic symbols for things, and now things are a lot more plain and simple, and you know, they're not all that imaginative or inventive or creative or different. They just seem like everybody gets, it's just regular for everybody. And I just wanted to think about like if I grew up in the 70s, if I grew up in the time where there was so much change going on, but there was also like, no matter what part of the world you were in, it felt like everybody was following with the times or with the moment, I guess. You know what I mean? Whether it was music or cinema or like technology, like the updates on video games and telephones and all of those different things, right? I feel like they had the opportunity to be like, I'm trying to say it the right way. They're trying to like make things better, you know, and by making things better, they had to put out more and more products. Now I feel like we have it too good, you know. The smartphone is great. It's perfect. It's exactly what you want it to be, you know. But then they come out with a new one the next year and it's not that much different than the one last year. So where's the creativity? Where's the invention? Where's the new thing? And every now and then you get something new, like they have that foldable phone. Like the foldable phones are a big one. I think that those ones are particularly interesting because of the foldable glass, or like, you know, the way that they're able to bend it or close it and snap it, and the magnetics of it, the bigger screen that you get from having it, the just the function of it, I think is really interesting. But, you know, just the single screen does plenty. And then also the camera and whatnot. But I think that's kind of a good and a bad thing about what's going on now is that, like, before you had to, you know, back in the 70s, you had to go get a physical camera, and then you had to go get a physical phone, and then you had to go get a physical TV to, like, watch things on. Now they're all condensed into one thing, and it's a lot simpler. It's a lot easier that way. You don't need much else. But then, you know, it's just not, it just doesn't feel as good. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I think that I would like the option to have that. And I guess you still have that, you know? But now online shopping has become so huge and has become so easy that it's kind of makes no sense to go get physical things anymore, I guess. And that's just the sign of the times, you know? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's like the best thing ever either. It's good and bad, but I don't know. That's why I kind of feel like I wish I was back there, or it would be cool if I grew up in that kind of time period where it's like, oh yeah, I have to go get this camera physically, you know. And they still have it. I'm just saying. Wondering what that life might be like, or what that kind of experience would be like. And there was also kind of like a certain style to things, or certain moments that defined you based on what you like chose or what you were around, you know what I mean? Like, people who own like record stores now are a lot different than people who own record stores back in the day, because you could live in New York City and you could find like hundreds of record shops, I guess, back in the day. And then those same record stores would be available in small towns, or a different record store would be available in your small town. You know what I mean? Like, music was a big business all across the world. And now instead of that, it's all online. And I don't know, I guess there was a kind of special vibe in the air when it was like, hey, everybody has to go to the record store to get this album or this CD or to do this. And you made it like an event. And I guess we still do have those with like Black Friday for like certain technological and presents and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm trying to think what do we have that's like in any way similar. And the closest thing that I've come up with is the movie theaters. I think movie theaters have progressively gotten better and better, like obviously the projection screen and the digitizing of things and the sound quality, stereo speakers, the dark lights, and the chairs have gotten improved, and snacks and all kinds of things that you can do in a movie theater have evolved and have gotten better over time. But it's still a place where people go to for like a human experience. And I think that's why the cinema or movie theaters are a great place for people to get together and experience a moment. Like watching Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War, like that was a moment. You know what I mean? And it was where everybody was like coming to the theater because it was a built up moment. And now when you go to the theaters, or I mean, it still is with Marvel movies, but I'm saying that like when you go see like maybe an indie film in the movie theater, or you see like a horror movie in the movie theater, it's not the same. I think back in maybe the 70s or 80s, there used to be like genuine screams or horror or terror in the audience. Now it's kind of like, I guess people are desensitized to it or don't really care all that much about it. But like you don't see people like screaming in the movie theaters anymore. Instead, you have them recording in the movie theaters and disturbing other people. But that's for another time. My point is that it's still a place where people go. It's still a physical place that people can go to experience the movie theater quality, to be around other people and have them all experience the same thing at the same place. And what's great about it is that everybody has to shut up. Nobody can talk during the thing. Of course, some people do, but again, that's for another time. But my point is that through time periods like the 50s to now, the movie theater has been a cultural and a significant place for people to like get together and watch something, and take in a story, or be taken into this new world, or be inspired, or learn a little bit about somebody new, or try to figure out or learn about just like a director's vision or writer's vision, or see a shining new movie star come up. It used to be a time like that, and now I think there is still that. I think there is still some of these movies where you see actors rising up and you see new stories being told and unique experiences and clever uses of cinematography and great stories and surprise, and it really has it all, and it's lasted so long because it's gotten better and better and better, and it forces people to connect. It forces people to go into the place and really bond. Now, and that's something that I think that home streaming and, online content creation and videos on YouTube and, streaming services on your devices, on your smartphones, they can't replicate, You don't get the same experience watching Avengers Endgame on your phone as you do in a packed theater with everybody screaming and cheering and like genuine excitement, and everybody's like oh, everybody's really excited and really enjoying the experience and the story and the characters and what's going on. And I think that's a really cool thing, and that's why the cinematic experience has lasted for as long as it has and will continue to thrive. Because then we'll find something new, something different, something new to attach to, a new story to be invested in, a new place to go. And I like that. I really do think that's cool. And that's something that I kind of wonder about, about being back in the day of like, imagine being there on the first day that Star Wars is released. You know what I'm saying? Imagine going to the record store and getting Michael Jackson's Thriller, you know? Going back and watching cinema history, watching a movie like Jaws or Carrie, you know what I mean? Just going back to that time period and that particular moment. And so I think about that. I wonder about that, how it would change me, the atmosphere, the people, what other people thought or what was going on over there, And I guess a big one is a big experience, I guess people talk about or they kind of like show on screen is the high school experience, which is like kind of this segregation of like different types of people. You got the nerds and the geeks and the jocks and the popular girls and the goths and the freaks and all this other stuff. It's like they separate people based on like where they feel like they belong, and there's no singular unity. Whereas now it's like things are accepted. You know what I mean? And we're a lot more like unified in our acceptance of one another, of our like hobbies. It's no longer it's no longer like one person liking this kind of thing or liking this kind of story or people enjoying, like somebody who is really smart in class can't be the basketball star, or you can't be the best basketball player at school. But now it's kind of like a requirement, you know what I mean? You have to be good in your classes in order to play the sport. Whereas back then it was just kind of like, who cares? I'm just going to play and do whatever at school. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's where the divide comes in. But I would just like to be just to observe it, you know what I mean? See it from all angles and sides and like understand it. And it genuinely might be interesting to see like how my school experience and that school experience differ. But what do I know? You know what I mean? You just gotta take it for what it is. What's next? I mean, besides, I guess, the cultural moments, I guess it would just be really cool. Also concerts, going to see your favorite musical artist or seeing a musician or a band of some kind, you know what I mean? That's also another thing that like has continually brought people together or brings people together, is the unity and the joy of like, oh wow, this person, you know what I mean? And that's also going to last far, far more than anything else, I think. Music really unites people. And so that's why it's like you no longer have to go to the record store or, you no longer have to buy the physical copy. But if you want to see that person perform it live music is oftentimes way better than just listening to the song on your phone. You know what I mean? Actually hearing the real drums and hearing the real guitar and hearing them really sing and having them right there in front of you, It's kind of like the coolest part of it. Now, it's not for everybody. I understand that, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say that like I necessarily need it all the time. Very, very few times do I ever feel like it's worth, I guess maybe for me to like go see everybody, but then again, the ticket prices are like crazy these days. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those weird moments where you have to think to yourself, like, is it, like, I would love to go to a lot of concerts, you know what I mean? But that's also the thing, is that back in the day, in previous generations, it was so easy, or I guess getting a ticket to a show was a lot more was a lot easier, or was a lot more welcoming, or wasn't as expensive as I guess it is now. So I don't know. I just feel like, what's the right thing? I feel like maybe you have to be a little bit more selective now than you were back then. Back then, it was just like, oh, hey, such and such is coming over with a concert. Do you want to go? Sure, let's go. You know what I mean? And then you had to get in line and get a physical ticket, and then you're like, all right, I'll be there whenever. You know what I mean? Now it's an online waiting game. Now it's you know, now it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, concert, if I'm going to pay for this or buy this like thing, I'm going to have to like do it within my budget, and then they basically like tell me where to sit and whatnot. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just the weirdest thing that's what it is now, But nonetheless, I'm very interested about what my life would be like back then, or how I would react to certain things. And I guess that's why a lot of people are so precious with their memories, or with like what they grew up with, or like how they experienced things. And they always say that like it was better for us and better for them. And I tend to push back, because I'm always just like, no. Mine is the better one. But if I had actually experienced it, if you had actually been there in the moment, then you would agree too, So it's just one of those moments where I think about, or I wonder how I would act, or how I would be, or, what my life would be like. And it's interesting. It's always interesting to think about, man, I wish it was like back then, or I wish I was back during that time period and I could do something different or something else, But we're here now, And it's all just about imagination. It's not about like, oh, I really wish that I did. It was more so like, I wonder about it, It would be interesting. It would be really cool. But I appreciate now as well. I appreciate the now. I appreciate where my life is, and what I've gone through, and what I have, and things that I'm looking forward to, and continuing to like get it going, you know what I mean? So I don't know. But I'm sure there are plenty of other people who wonder about like growing up back in the day, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, other than to say that like when you're wondering about it, maybe try to think about like the things that you would do back then, compare it to how you would do things now, and then ask yourself, is it really better today, or is it just like, what's really holding me back? Is it money? Is it travel? Is it this? Is it that? Is it this person? You kind of tell yourself that it's like, the thing that's holding me back, or the thing that's like bothering me, is maybe our progress, our technological progress, our online and internet progress, our, economic progress, I guess you could say. Is it this? Is it that? What's been gnawing at me? And why do I want this kind of other lifestyle, or this other era? Why do I want to be a part of that? Or what's something that I can take from that and learn from it? You know what I mean? And kind of make that a part of my life and my world, and what I want for myself, and I guess for others too, So yeah, I hope you guys wonder about it too. If not, I may sound crazy. Who cares? But yeah, if you're wondering about what it would be like, let me know what you guys think. And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.